You're about to watch the 5th installment of Videomaker's Deconstructing Cinematography, Volume 2.
We wanted to let you know that the previous and forthcoming segments of this series can be found for a limited time at Videomaker.com. To check it out, just click on the link in the description below.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Andy. Welcome to Videomaker's Deconstructing Cinematography, where we examine great movie scenes known for spectacular cinematography and then break them down to find out exactly why they're so highly revered.
Now we're going to take a look at a scene from Martin Scorsese's biographical drama about Howard Hughes, The Aviator. Released in 2004, cinematographer Robert Richardson won the Academy Award for his work.
We're going to take a look at the Hell's Angel movie premiere scene, which mixes creative techniques and original newsreel footage to bring it to life.
A million good souls lining the curb of Hollywood Boulevard. Look at the automobiles, ladies and gentlemen. There are at least 45,000 cars here, making it the greatest traffic jam ever seen in the
quite a
West.
lump in his throat tonight. 6 months after the stock market crashes and after the death of 3 of his pilots, he's finally unveiling his $4 million baby doll.
It's the most expensive movie ever made. Nothing five and dime for our Mr. Hughes. Nothing like tonight has ever been seen before, and I can certainly say it will never be seen again. 500,000 people are crowding the streets to get a glimpse of the stars and celebrities. 3 companies of Marines were called to assist the 250 special police who are handling this enormous
This is
crowd.
an industry town, my friend, and nobody but nobody makes a movie outside a studio. Sure, some Hollywood insiders over at the Brown Derby may be laughing.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think... Yes, I can just see Mr. Hughes' car arriving now. Mr. Hughes escorts the lovely starlet Jean Harlow tonight. He discovered her for this picture, and we think her platinum blonde locks and hot jazz baby doll style are going to make her a big star. Mr. Hughes, how about a word?
Man, that was a good scene. What'd you think?
Well, I thought that the most interesting part of that was the color, really. Because I noticed that throughout the whole scene, the color was kind of a bit muted in like the greens, for instance, and you saw a lot more of the blues and the reds come through. But really, that mimics very well the kind of film style they had in the late 20s there when that film came out. And so I thought it was a good technique to try and reintroduce that two-strip process back into the whole film, just mimic that basically in their new footage that they shot, in order to make it seem like it was, again, shot in the 20s.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the 20s, they actually used real news footage from the 20s, like
Right.
as he was going down the street, you saw like all of those old cars.
Yeah.
We don't have that many. I was
going to say, that's a lot of old cars. They must have spent a lot of money on that.
And like all of those old people on the side with dressed up.
That's
and
pretty awesome.
They just colorized the whole thing
Because it was
from
in black and white, right? Yep.
And they made it look like what the film looked like.
And it really kind of came in very seamlessly, too. I mean, I didn't really notice. You could tell it was a little different, but you didn't notice it so much. It sort of felt like you were seeing it from the view of the public suddenly, and then you went back in and you saw Howard Hughes inside of his, limousine, and then you went back out and again saw more of that footage. It felt pretty natural to me, so
Yeah.
they blended that in really well. Now, the actual red carpet scene, I thought that was really cool because I'm sort of a lighting guy myself, and so I really liked the way that they chose to use the photographer's flash bulbs in that scene. So basically, every time one of those flash bulbs went off, it wasn't just a little bit brighter, it was just like amazingly brighter, like 11 stops brighter, basically.
washed him
yeah,
out.
like washed him out. And the only thing you saw was his pupil. I don't know if you noticed that, but it was pretty cool. So it really gave this feeling of disorientation and like he was being just like engulfed and completely just like, it was almost too much for him with all this press out there.
Yeah, like berated with like people and questions and the shots on the side of all the people like yelling and the eyes.
Right.
And just everybody's trying to get his attention and he's just trying to focus on walking through
Yeah.
all of the flash bulbs
Right.
and get in.
And that was the cool thing, too, to see all those flash bulbs on the ground and see how they were wasting a lot of flash bulbs back then. I didn't realize they did that. But it also was representative, again, of the way Howard Hughes is feeling. You could see that he wasn't feeling too good about the whole thing. He was a little off, and it was kind of overwhelming for him. But in crushing those bulbs in the ground with his feet, you sort of felt like he was also being crushed. It was like a representation that he was also being crushed by this, incredible amount of press that was trying to get at him, basically.
Yeah, really good use of close-up shots to show the emotions on his face that's going on and all the people around him.
Exactly. And then they also, in that same regard, used a bunch of crane shots. I don't know if you saw that too. I liked those crane shots. I thought they worked pretty well, where they started off real high so you could see the crowd real nice, and then they came down to Howard Hughes' level. And I kind of like that a lot because it sort of like, again, gives you the wider aspect, but in doing so, it still has some nice motion and comes down to the level of what Howard Hughes is seeing. So I thought that was a pretty cool technique. And, whenever you can use a crane like that, I say, go for it.
Yeah, and that last scene, they actually used a ton of different elements just to get that movie premiere scene done.
Right, that big wide shot with the planes. Yeah.
The same 300 people that were on the right side in the stages.
Right.
They just moved them over to in front of the theater, and then they just took the cars and did it in 3 separate takes, one in the back, one in the middle, and one in the front.
They obviously didn't have enough extras to do the whole thing all at once, so they just decided to do 3 different stages of extras, right? Combine them together. And then it ended up looking like they were all there at one time.
Yeah,
was
and
pretty
then
cool.
they threw CG planes to fly over.
Totally. And they had a bit of a tilt there, too. I don't think they had that originally. But, of course, the set, too, if you remember, was an actual miniature.
Yeah.
Right? So that's cool that they were able to combine both the miniature, a whole bunch of people sitting in grandstands in 3 different stages, and these CG planes all in the one shot and made it look seamless.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what good compositing comes down to.
Yeah, and money. And time.
And money and time. Well, we'd love to talk more about The Aviator, but Andy and I are due to shoot more footage for the masterpiece we've been working on for the last 25 years.
Stories from a teddy bear.
Totally, man.
Yes.
So in our next segment, we're going to check out an intense interrogation scene from The Dark Knight.
Director Christopher Nolan and cinematographer Wally Pfister used unconventional techniques to give this scene a raw, gritty feel.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.